It was 6:15 a.m. on a Tuesday morning when Marina arrived at the most luxurious hotel in New York City. At 45 years old, she had dedicated the last 15 years of her life to cleaning those Italian marble corridors that cost more than what most people earn in an entire lifetime. On that specific day, she had no idea that her life would change forever because of an encounter with Robert, a man who believed his money gave him the right to destroy anyone's dignity. What happened in that hotel wasn't just public humiliation. It was the beginning of a revenge no one expected. The Imperial Hotel wasn't just any hotel. Located in Manhattan's financial district, it only welcomed the global elite: billionaire entrepreneurs, influential politicians, international celebrities. The presidential suite cost over $15,000 per night, with a 6-month waiting list. Marina knew every corner of that place. She had started working there when she was only 30 years old, right after her divorce. A single mother of 2 young children, Gabriel, 8 years old, and Sophie, 6. She needed 2 jobs to pay rent for a small apartment in the outer boroughs of New York. During all those years, Marina never missed a single day. She always arrived at 6 a.m. sharp, impeccably uniformed, with a smile on her face that was contagious to everyone around her. The other employees deeply respected her. The doorman always said, "Marina is the heart of this hotel." The receptionist used to comment, "If all guests treated us like Marina treats people, this would be the best job in the world." But Marina had a secret that no one in the hotel knew. The previous Monday, Robert had checked into the presidential suite. At 38 years old, he was heir to a real estate empire valued at over $2 billion. Robert hadn't built anything in his life. Everything was inheritance from his father, who died when he was 25. Unlike his father, who was known for his humility despite his wealth, Robert was the complete opposite. He treated employees like disposable objects. In the restaurant, he snapped his fingers to call waiters. In the elevator, he didn't even thank people when someone pressed the floor button for him. During that weekend, Robert was at the hotel to close what he considered the deal of his life. It was a $50 million partnership with a group of foreign investors to build a luxury building complex on the Upper East Side. If it worked out, he would double his fortune. What Robert didn't know was that this investor group had very specific criteria for choosing partners. They didn't just analyze financial numbers. They deeply investigated the character of people they did business with. Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. Marina was on the 15th floor, the most luxurious floor of the hotel, cleaning the marble corridor with the same care as always. She wore discreet earbuds, a small rebellion allowed by management since she was an exemplary employee, and listened to an entrepreneurship podcast while she worked. Robert came out of the presidential suite talking loudly on his phone. He was visibly irritated because he had discovered the night before that the foreign investors had postponed the meeting. What was supposed to be Monday would now only be Wednesday. "These Europeans think they can play games with me," he shouted into the phone. "I'm Robert. My family built half of this city." Marina, focused on her work and wearing her earbuds, was mopping the floor near the wall. She didn't hear Robert approaching. When she turned to dip the mop in the bucket, her cleaning cart moved slightly. Crash! The cart hit Robert's elbow as he was gesticulating exaggeratedly during the call. The phone flew from his hand and fell onto the marble floor, making a sharp noise that echoed throughout the corridor. The silence that followed was deafening. Robert looked at the phone on the floor, then at Marina, then back at the phone. His face turned red with rage. At that moment, other guests began coming out of their rooms to see what was happening. An American family, a couple of Japanese businessmen, and even the hotel manager, Mr. Charles, who had been called because there was a small commotion upstairs. "You incompetent!" Robert exploded, his voice echoing throughout the corridor. "You can't even clean floors properly!" Marina immediately removed her earbuds and tried to apologize. "Sir, forgive me. I didn't see that you were—" "Shut up, Robert." interrupted her. How dare you touch me? Do you know how much my suit costs? More than you make in a year. The corridor was getting more and more crowded. Employees from other floors were coming up to see what was happening. Guests were discreetly filming with their cell phones. Robert continued, People like you should, know your place. You're nobody, a miserable janitor who probably can't even write her own name properly. Tears began to appear in Marina's eyes, but she maintained her composure. I bet you live in some ghetto and have a bunch of kids who will also be failures like you, Robert continued. People like me pay the salary of people like you. You should be on your knees thanking me. Mr. Charles tried to intervene. Mr. Robert, please, let's maintain civility. Don't talk to me about civility, Robert shouted. I pay $15,000 a night here. I can buy this entire hotel if I want, and this thing assaults me and still wants me to be polite? Marina, with tears in her eyes but maintaining her dignity, said only, Sir, I sincerely apologize. It wasn't my intention. I can pay for your phone repair. Robert let out a cruel laugh. Pay? With what money? With the pocket change you earn cleaning vomit from important people? The humiliation lasted almost 10 minutes. Everyone present was embarrassed, but no one had the courage to confront a man of such economic power. Finally, Robert picked up the phone from the floor, which hadn't even broken, spat on the floor near Marina's feet and said, Clean that up, too. That's what you're good for. And he stomped back to his suite. What no one in that corridor knew was that Marina wasn't just a janitor. After leaving the hotel that day, she didn't go home crying as everyone imagined. Marina went to a 300-square-meter office in Manhattan's financial district, an office with a panoramic view of the city, where a golden plaque at the entrance read, Eagle Investments, Dr. Marina Santos, CEO and founder. Yes, the same Marina who had been humiliated by Robert was, in reality, one of the richest women in the country. But how was this possible? 15 years earlier, when Marina started working at the Imperial Hotel, she really was just a divorced janitor struggling to support 2 young children. But Marina had something most people don't have, a brilliant mind and unshakable determination. During her lunch breaks, while other employees rested, Marina studied. She had gotten a scholarship to pursue a business administration degree at night. On weekends, when she wasn't working her second job, she took online courses in investments and financial markets, Marina observed. She observed a lot. Working in that luxury hotel, she heard conversations from billionaire entrepreneurs, learned about their businesses, understood how they thought. She was invisible to them, just another janitor, so they talked about everything in front of her. With the little money she managed to save, Marina began investing. First, it was $50 a month, then $100. She studied each investment as if her life depended on it, and it really did. Gradually, Marina increased her investments. She bought stocks in companies she heard guests commenting would grow. She invested in real estate funds when she discovered certain areas would be valued. After 5 years, Marina already had over $100,000 invested. After 8 years, it was already $500,000. After 10 years of working at the hotel, Marina was officially a millionaire. But she didn't stop. She founded her own investment company and began helping other people get rich too. Today, 15 years later, Marina managed over $500 million in investments and had a personal net worth of over $80 million. So why did she continue working as a janitor? Marina developed a very specific life philosophy. Never forget where you came from, and never stop observing who people really are. She continued working as a janitor 2 mornings a week for 2 main reasons. First, to never forget her origins. The moment I stop cleaning floors, she used to tell herself, I'll start feeling superior to others. Second, to observe people's character. In 15 years of observing the American elite, Marina had developed an incredible ability to identify people's true character by how they treated employees. A businessman can have a perfect resume on paper, Marina thought. But if he treats a janitor poorly, he'll treat his partners, employees, and clients poorly when he no longer needs them. That's why Marina kept her identity secret at the hotel. She used a different name in company documents, Dr. Marina Santos, and always wore dark glasses and formal clothes when appearing at business events. During those 15 years, Marina had identified dozens of businessmen with questionable character simply by observing how they treated her and other hotel employees, and she kept a mental list of people she would never do business with. Robert's name had just entered the top of that list. Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Robert was in the Imperial Hotel lobby, wearing his finest Italian suit, preparing for the meeting that would change his life. The foreign investors had finally arrived in America and scheduled the meeting for 3 p.m. in the hotel's conference room. Robert had spent the entire morning rehearsing his presentation. He was confident. After all, his company had a solid reputation in the American real estate market. What investor group wouldn't want to double a $50 million investment in less than 2 years? At 2:45 p.m., an elegant delegation entered the hotel lobby. 3 men in impeccable suits, clearly European, accompanied by lawyers and advisors. But the person leading the group caught everyone's attention in the lobby. It was a woman of approximately 45 years old, wearing a navy blue tailored suit, hair pulled back in an elegant bun, designer glasses, and a presence that emanated power and authority. She walked with the confidence of someone accustomed to commanding boardrooms around the world. Robert looked at her and thought, "Wow, that must be the executive assistant. What an elegant woman." The hotel manager, Mr. Charles, approached the group. "Welcome to the Imperial Hotel. Is Dr. Santos expecting you?" "I am Dr. Santos," the woman replied, extending her hand. "Pleased to meet you." Robert was surprised. A woman leading a $50 million investment group? Well, times were changing. He approached with his most charming smile. "Dr. Santos, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Robert from Empire Construction. We're excited to present our proposal." The woman looked at him for a few seconds as if analyzing something, then smiled. "Of course, Mr. Robert. I'm also looking forward to our conversation." As they headed to the conference room, Robert couldn't stop looking at Dr. Santos. There was something familiar about her, but he couldn't identify what. The Imperial Hotel's conference room was an imposing environment. Mahogany table for 20 people, state-of-the-art projection screen, panoramic view of the city. Robert had rented the space for the entire day, another $5,000 he considered a necessary investment. "Dr. Santos," Robert began, "let me present the project that will revolutionize the New York real estate market." For 2 hours, Robert gave the presentation of his life. Impeccable slides, detailed financial projections, market studies. The project really was impressive. A luxury apartment complex that could generate over $200 million in sales. The European investors asked technical questions, analyzed numbers, discussed details. Everything seemed to be going perfectly. Dr. Santos, however, remained silent. She just observed. Observed Robert speaking, observed how he gestured, observed how he responded to questions. At the end of the presentation, one of the European investors said, "Mr. Robert, the numbers are really impressive. From a technical standpoint, we have no objections to the project." Robert smiled triumphantly. "Excellent. So we can start discussing contracts?" "Actually," said the investor, "the final decision belongs to Dr. Santos. She's our majority partner and has veto power over all investments." Robert looked at Dr. Santos, who still hadn't said anything during the entire meeting. "Dr. Santos," Robert said, "I'd like to hear your opinion on the project." She slowly rose from her chair, walked to the window, looked at the city for a few seconds, then turned to Robert. "Mr. Robert, may I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. Feel free." How do you treat people who work for you? Robert was confused by the question. What do you mean? Employees, service providers, people you consider, how can I put it, from a different social class than yours. Robert tried to answer diplomatically. Well, I always treat everyone with respect and professionalism, obviously. Dr. Santos gave a smile that didn't reach her eyes. How interesting. What if I told you I have information that contradicts that statement? The atmosphere in the room changed completely. Robert felt a chill in his stomach. Dr. Santos walked to her bag and pulled out a tablet. Mr. Robert, do you remember what happened last Tuesday around 10:30 a.m. on the 15th floor of this same hotel? Robert went pale. I don't understand. Let me refresh your memory. She touched the tablet screen and a video began playing on the room's projection screen. It was footage from the hotel corridor. Marina's humiliation was being reproduced, in full with perfect audio. Robert watched himself screaming, "You incompetent! You can't even clean floors properly!" The European investors watched the scene with expressions of disgust and disapproval. The video continued. "People like you should know your place. You're nobody. I bet you live in some ghetto and have a bunch of kids who will also be failures." Like you! When the video ended, the silence in the room was absolute. Dr. Santos turned off the tablet and looked directly at Robert. "Mr. Robert, I'd like you to meet someone." She removed her dark glasses, let down her hair from the bun, and said, "My real name is Marina. Nice to meet you properly." Robert felt the world collapse around him. Impossible. Robert stammered, You were... The incompetent janitor who can't even clean floors properly? Yes, that was me, Marina said calmly. But how? Allow me to introduce myself properly, since Tuesday you didn't give me that opportunity. Marina walked around the table as she spoke. Dr. Marina Santos, CEO and founder of Eagle Investments, one of the largest private investment management companies in Latin America. Business administration degree, international MBA, PhD in finance, personal net worth of approximately 80 million. The European investors were speechless. Marina continued, I've been working as a janitor at the Imperial Hotel for 15 years, Mr. Robert. Not out of necessity, but by personal choice. During all those years, I observed hundreds of entrepreneurs like you. I learned that the true measure of a person's character isn't what they do when being observed by their peers, but how they treat those they consider inferior. Robert tried to interrupt. Marina, Dr. Santos, I can explain. There's nothing to explain, Mr. Robert. Marina raised her hand. You showed exactly who you are, and I showed that to my partners. One of the European investors stood up. Mr. Robert, after what we just witnessed, I can guarantee that our group will never do business with people who demonstrate this type of character. Of course, we all make mistakes. Robert desperately tried to defend himself. Mistakes? Marina interrupted. Mr. Robert, you humiliated a worker for almost 10 minutes in front of dozens of people, called her incompetent, said she and her children would be failures, ordered her to get on her knees to thank you. That wasn't a mistake. That was a demonstration of who you really are. Robert collapsed into his chair, head in his hands. $50 million had just slipped through his fingers. Marina, Dr. Santos, I beg you, let me make it up. Make it up how, Mr. Robert? With money? Do you really believe everything in life can be bought? I can make a donation to charity. $1 million. Marina let out a humorless laugh. You want to do charity now? How interesting. On Tuesday, when you had the opportunity to show compassion and humanity toward a worker, you chose to humiliate her. Now that you discovered that worker can affect your business, you want to do charity. The investors were gathering their materials. One of them addressed Robert. Mr. Robert, besides not closing the deal, we want to make it clear that we'll share this experience with our network of contacts. How a person treats employees is a direct indicator of how they'll treat partners and clients. When all the investors left the room, Marina and Robert were alone. "Why do you continue working as a janitor?" Robert asked, genuinely confused. Marina sat across from him. "Because money doesn't change who you are, Mr. Robert. It only amplifies who you already were. When I was poor, I treated everyone with respect because I believe all human beings deserve dignity. Now that I'm rich, I continue believing the same thing. And I do the opposite." You just answered your own question. You didn't respect me when you thought I was just a janitor. You're only respecting me now because you discovered I can harm your business. That says everything about your character. Robert remained silent for a few minutes, then asked, "Is there any way to reverse this?" Marina stood up and walked toward the door. "Mr. Robert, for 15 years I observed hundreds of people like you. Some learned, changed, evolved. Others continued being exactly what they always were. The choice is always individual. And me? Do I have a chance to change?" Marina stopped at the door and looked at him. "Everyone has a chance to change, Mr. Robert. The question is, do you want to change because you understood you were wrong, or because you discovered that being this way can harm your business?" And she left the room, leaving Robert alone with his thoughts. In the following days, the story spread rapidly through American business circles. The humiliation video was shared in business groups, posted discreetly on social media, discussed in business lunches. Robert tried to control the damage, but it was too late. 3 other deals he was negotiating were canceled. 2 partners withdrew from the company. Employees began resigning. Empire Construction didn't go bankrupt. The company was too solid for that. But Robert's reputation was destroyed. He had to step away from the company presidency and passed command to his younger brother. Marina continued her routine. Millionaire CEO 5 days a week, janitor 2 mornings a week. Her story inspired hundreds of other working women to invest in education and financial knowledge. 6 months later, Marina created an investment fund specifically for domestic workers, janitors, and other domestic workers to learn to invest with small amounts. The fund was called Dignity and had already helped over 5,000 women start their journey to financial independence. And Robert? They say he's still trying to understand how a janitor managed to destroy his empire in a single afternoon. So what do you think about this incredible story? Was Marina too harsh with Robert, or did he deserve everything that happened to him? Leave me your opinion in the comments, and always remember, never underestimate anyone. That person you think is just something might be much more than they appear. Treat everyone with respect, because a person's character is revealed in how they treat those who can't do anything for them. If you liked this incredible plot twist story, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our stories that shock the world, and hit that notification bell to be the first to watch new videos. See you in the next story.